I know we call this the doom economy. We've got a farmer and we've got a shopkeeper. Each one borrows $1,000 at 10% in order to create an economy that they can exchange goods and services with each other. Now, with a $2,000 economy, and it's at 10%, at the end of a year, both A, the farmer, and B, the shopkeeper, have an $1,100 obligation back to the bank. We have a $2,200 obligation, but we only have a $2,000 economy. The farmer A, he has a better year than the shopkeeper B, and he gets $1,100 out of this system, and he goes to the bank and he gives them his $1,100. And the banker says, "Thank you, Mr. A, you did a marvelous job." And Mr. A is free to go his way. But when he took $1,100 out of the system, that left $900 in the system, because there was only $2,000 to start out with. Now Mr. B owes $1,100, but there's only $900 that he has access to. So, come heck or high water, the bank owns Mr. B, because there's not enough money in there. He cannot find enough money to pay the $1,100 because it does not exist. That's what's going on in the world today. That's what's wrong with our economy. That's what has to be solved somewhere before God's kingdom is established upon this earth. Now, another example of that is illustrated by Thomas Edison. This story is recorded in the New York Times in December the 6th of 1921. It's about the Tennessee River Project. There was a dam built in the Tennessee River, and this is what he has to say about it. Anytime that you wish to add to the national wealth, we are compelled to add to the national debt. Now that's what Henry Ford wants to prevent, and Henry Ford was talking about the same thing also. He thinks it is stupid, and so do I, that for the loan of $33 million of our own money, the people of the United States should be compelled to pay $66 million. That is, with principal and interest. That's what it amounts to with interest. People who will not turn a shovel full of dirt nor contribute a pound of material will collect more money from the United States than will the people who supplied the material to do the work. That's the terrible thing about interest. It's always greater than the principal. All of the great public works cost more than twice the actual cost of the amount. Under the present system of doing business, we simply add 120 to 150% to the starting cost. J. Reuben Clark. J. Reuben Clark was an attorney. He was a statesman, a U.S. diplomat, and a spiritual leader. He stated, "Interest never sleeps, nor sickens, nor dies. It never goes to the hospital. It works on Sundays, on holidays. It's never discharged for unemployment. It never works at reduced hours. It has no love, no sympathy. It is as hard and soulless as a granite cliff. Once in debt, interest is your companion every minute of every day and night. You cannot shun it, nor slip away from it. You cannot dismiss it. It yields neither to entreaties, demands, nor orders. And whenever you get in its way, or cross its course, or fail to meet its demands, it crushes you." Here's another slide, the U.S. problem explained. The top half of this picture shows numbers so big that you cannot comprehend them. You can't relate to them. Hundreds of billions of dollars. In order to understand the picture, the bottom half has done an interesting thing. They've taken 8 zeros away from each of the lines above, like the U.S. Tax revenue, the federal budget, the new debt, the national debt, and recent budget cuts. And they've taken 8 zeros away from it and compared it to a household. Now let's look at each one of those individually as if it's a household. Now, each one has 8 zeros removed. Annual family income, yeah, annual United States income with 8 zeros missing. Annual family income is $21,700. Money that the family spent, $38,200. Ooh. New debt on the credit card, $16,500. Outstanding balance on the credit card, $142,710. Total budget cuts, $385. Now when we look at it this way and realize that that's what's going on in our federal government, you begin to understand the problem that we face and where we're going. I have here a pamphlet called Economic Solutions. Somebody put that on my desk a year or so ago. I didn't pay any attention to it for 4 or 5 months, and finally I picked it up one day and I read through it, and it explained all of these things that are going on in the government, the monetary problems, and the solution. How we can come up with a system that does away with the problem and everybody would prosper. Well, I looked in the back of the book, and it told me where I could order some more copies of this, and I called them up and the phone number was gone. So I looked for the author, and I find the author of this program vanished off the face of the earth in 2004. So maybe there are people that don't want you to solve the problem. Our situation is indeed like this. It's a house of cards. And it keeps going the way it's going. It must crumble. Now, Congress could create a solution to this on a weekend if they would. They have the power. Too many people are benefiting too well from the system the way it stands to come up with a solution.